It's time to ride it. 3, 2, 1, let's get it. Come on, pull up a chair.
I don't. I was gonna do like a peekaboo thing, and then I started doing it, and now I'm just kind of like, I don't know. Like I don't know what to do. Now, like it sounded kind of funny, and now I'm just like, this is kind of weird. How are you? Welcome to the writer's room. Hope everybody's having a great day. Today, I'm going to be attempting something for the first time. I came up with an experimental idea, and I wanted to give it a try. It's probably going to create a shorter episode than we're used to, but I figured it might be fun. So, let's go to the beat board. Let's write this idea out. And we'll probably do a traditional beat sheet, because this is less of a sketch and more of a short film. So, we'll just call this idea, because it's not necessarily a log line. Let me copy that over so that everybody can see. That's not it. There it is. Okay. Shrink that up. Here's our idea. Now, the vision. Let me describe this. Let me set the scene for y'all. I want to do something where, let me do this. Wood flooring, and then suddenly, just in the center, a shape is born, a circle. A circle is created. It's got like bed sheeting material. You can see all these wrinkles, but it's a near perfect circle. And then the circle explores its space. Maybe there's a rug in the corner or something. It's just like looking around, having a good time. And after a few beats, triangle comes in. Triangle is same material, same texture, and it wants the space too. So they start to fight. And now we have two shapes fighting, and I want, over the course of the film, as the corners are used against the circle, and as they continue to just clash, I want the triangle to become more and more round as it changes into a circle, and then they become the same shape, and it's kind of meant to be a almost, I guess, metaphor for, it's like, oh, we're a lot more similar than we think, or, we all need to just love each other, yada yada. I'm terrible at metaphors. There is something here, though. So, it wants me to save. You get to see all of the things we've worked on over the past year. So, what would be a good name for this? I think, as of now, I'm gonna call it Shapes. Or you know what? Shape of Life. No. Shapes is our working title. Just because I'm not entirely sure what to call this thing yet. So, with what I've just described, let's make a few beats. Beat 2. Let's start with 3, and if we need more, we will make another. So, Where do we start? Beat 1, empty space. Ground is wood flooring. I like the idea of wood flooring. I think like an old stone, like a cobblestone floor could work too. But I don't know, I think like an older wood flooring would be nice too. I think especially if we're going with a white sheet, I think the like a darker brown maybe, or I don't know, light brown could work too. But it would contrast better than I think gray would. Same with carpet. I mean, unless you did a black carpet, I could see a black carpet. But I don't know. I think a wood floor is more interesting to look at through a camera than like a black carpet would be. Black carpet might even come up solid. So our first beat, which is essentially what kicks off our story, not our conflict, but it's the very beginning of it introduces our first character, in a sense. This is experimental because it's not your traditional narrative. We don't usually follow shapes and inanimate objects that don't talk as people with emotions. So it's kind of a different vibe. Even though this is a very linear story that has things going from point A to point B and so on and so forth, it's just different. It's very different. And it's playing with, I mean, I imagine this would be like a stop motion kind of thing, if that makes sense. But, yeah, so, empty space. Suddenly, in the center, a sheet appears and slowly takes the shape of a circle. If I could spell circle. That's our first beat. That's what kind of starts us off here. We have a character now. So now we have beat 2. The circle explores the space until a triangle from off, actually it's off dash screen, I think, emerges, and there's an eye in triangle. Okay. So our third beat. Well, we have to have our shapes meet. Oh, actually, that's kind of the beauty of experimental. We don't really have to do anything. We do what we want. There are rules to experimental that I'm not 100% familiar with, which is kind of why this is, I said off the bat, this is my first time doing anything like this, because I'm kind of in the dark here. This is one of those things that I've never come up with an idea that is in this genre. So it's kind of, I'm in new territory. I'm not used to doing a screenplay like this. Braden might know a little bit more about it, and maybe we can have a discussion in a video when he's able to return to us. So, damn, I think what we are going to do We don't have to specify it yet. We can think on it now and write it in the screenplay, but right now we just need circle and triangle look each other. That's not it. Up and down. They fight. And we're gonna need 2 more beats. I'm gonna say beat 4, beat 5. Okay. So when you have characters that don't do dialogue, you're using every element of storytelling to show and not tell, because you can't tell because there's no dialogue. Which is that's generally the rule anyway. You're supposed to show and not tell. Because if you had a character explain everything to you, I think it would make the audience feel stupid, but also it can be exhausting to just hear. It's just like, I want to see what happened. I don't want you to tell me about it. I mean, there are cases, exceptions to every rule, but typically you want to show stuff. So beat 4. The triangle becomes rounder and rounder as the fight continues. Eventually, there are 2 circles. The triangle becomes sad. Now, how are we gonna make it sad? Probably some music. I'm gonna say. Oh no, it doesn't fit. My OCD. Alright, it's fine. Do this, and do this, and it's a little bit better. Okay, you know what else could be interesting is if they had little, like, stick figure faces. I don't know, this is one of those that is, you have to play with it until you find kind of the right mesh of elements. At least I feel like. Again, I don't know what I'm doing, but I want to try it. I've seen several experimental films. A lot of them are twisted, and it feels like you're like on drugs, honestly. But a lot of them can be very beautiful, and sometimes it's just like a collection of images. Sometimes there's not necessarily a created story, but an audience they watch and they interpret it and they create their own story within it. It's kind of like abstract art, like painting, I guess. I think I'm using those. I'm not a painter, so I think I'm using those terms right, where it's kind of just, it's nothing, but the audience creates something in their mind, I think. So, the circle becomes, or not becomes, moves closer to what was the, I have an idea, triangle suddenly a red sheet appears above them, and of course if we're looking camera like on the ceiling down onto the floor, up would be, I guess it would be they're here and then up would be here, not closer to the camera. So yeah, I'm doing that right. And I'm gonna say quickly changes into a heart. And floats away. No! Okay. These are our beats. This is kind of what I'm thinking. So it would be essentially, I guess, like thousands upon thousands of pictures. Because it's not video, it's stop motion animation. And forgive me, feel free to correct me in the comments if I say anything wrong here. I'm not super knowledgeable about animation either. But the way I can think of with my very limited brain knowledge is you would, well, if we talk about the beginning, empty space, you get a few seconds worth of pictures of just the floor. Maybe you move the camera a hair every time you do it so that it's like, it's not just a still. And then when the sheet appears, you go in, you place the sheet exactly how you want it to appear, and then you take a few pictures, and then you slowly, between the few pictures, you slowly transform it into the circle, which would then kind of create our first beat. So, okay. Now that we've got our beat sheet, which, you know, let me read that back for the podcast listeners. The idea: a circle and triangle fight to control a space until the triangle becomes more and more round and changes into a circle. They learn to coexist. Beat 1. Empty space ground. Empty space. The ground is wood flooring. Suddenly in the center, a sheet appears and slowly takes the shape of a circle. Beat 2. The circle explores the space until a triangle from off-screen emerges. Beat 3. Circle and triangle look each other up and down. Then they fight. Beat 4. The triangle becomes rounder and rounder as the fight continues. Eventually there are 2 circles. The triangle becomes sad. Beat 5. The circle moves closer to what was the triangle. Suddenly a red sheet appears above them and quickly changes into a heart and floats away. And those are our beats for the moment. So let's do our title page. Let's get our title page done real quick. Working title is Shapes. I am Cole Janes. Based on, it's not really based on any. I just kind of. It's based on, I guess, other experimental films I've seen, but I'm not like directly. Well, I mean, as far as I know, I'm not like stealing from anything. Now, if that's not correct, comment section can let me know. In which case, I won't make this. But or I might. I mean, I don't know. That's the beauty of art, is interpretations can be infinite. So I might make a version of it that is way different than if somebody's made this sort of thing before. This sort of experimental film. Okay. Well, actually, it would be interior, wood, wood. What is happening? Wood floor. We can say day. Yeah, that was stupid. All right. Okay. This is kind of what we got here. Well, let's create this little area here. We have a wood floor. Let me look at, because I have wood floors. It's not super dark. I'm gonna just say brown wood floor. Wood floor. There is. You know what? Maybe there's furniture. That would make the space more interesting. And then on paper, the fight could screw up the room. It like moves all the furniture around. Because I don't plan to leave this room. Of course that can change as I write it, but let's see. Yeah, there is a rug and furniture all around the space. We are viewing this scene from a, let's say, bird's eye view. Typically, writers that are only screenwriters, having a camera shot in there is kind of a big no-no. I think this is an exception because this literally doesn't work unless it's top-down only with my interpretation of what I'm making. I mean, I guess you could. If you were to have these shapes go outside and were staying flat, you could have them traverse along like a fence, like a wooden fence or something like that, where there's no like gaps in it, maybe. But and another thing that's helping me here is I plan to direct this someday, maybe. But I don't know. But yeah, typically camera shots in a script is a big no-no. I think we've mentioned that before on the show, but it's always good to remind, or if there's new viewers, create teaching moments. I'm sure Braden and I have repeated ourselves a lot on the old podcast. Okay. From a bird's eye view, we sit on this scene for a beat. Suddenly, a white dot appears in the center of the room and slowly I'm gonna actually change this. A bunched up sheet appears in the center of the, I'm gonna say space, and slowly unravels into a circle. All right, so we have already done our first beat. Did I really misspell slowly for the second time? Oh, no, why did I write slowly twice? What the fuck is wrong with me? Okay. This is our first beat. This is going to be a much shorter screenplay than normal. A lot of the length of screenplays has to do with everything is spaced out. Action lines are bunched up together into paragraphs. So I'm probably gonna, well, yeah, probably gonna do that because that's a section of action, and we're gonna split up our sections of action. But typically, it's like you have a small bit of action, and then you do some dialogue, and it's all super spaced out. So this may not even get past page 2, depending on how long our like fight scene is. Fight scene, I guess. It's gonna be just two shapes hitting each other. But what could be interesting with that fight actually is if you take like yellow pillowcases or whatever, and you create like a cartoony explosion kind of thing. So it's like clash, yellow pillowcase of the impact. I don't know, I'm just kind of spitballing a little bit, but let's see. Okay, let's just keep going. The circle sits for a moment and then travels around. It brushes up against the furniture and feels the rug. I wanted to express, how do I make a sheet circle express itself? What could work is back to my smiley face idea. Hang on, let's pull up Paint. We haven't gone into Microsoft Paint in a while. Let's see. I'm gonna drag Paint over here, bear with me. Okay. So what I'm thinking, let's see. Hold on. Let me get my bearings here a little bit. Yeah, something like that. The eyes are a little big there. Maybe more like, but then it's like constantly moving. So you would hand draw it every frame, and then it's kind of constantly like wiggling around because you don't perfectly replicate what you just drew. Like you'll notice with this curve and this curve, like I kind of arch back a little bit, but here it's almost more like a C. Whereas here I'm like starting to draw an S because I kind of curve back a little bit. But like with these little imperfections, if you hand draw it, like say this is a frame right here, the next frame would be a new one. But I could have this be the way the circle expresses itself. I'm just not sure I like that. Maybe we just don't for the time being. I think we just don't. You know what? Happy music. Happy music plays as the circle makes the space its home. I think that works. That's kind of the other thing is, the other way you could make this is it wouldn't be a sheet material, but you could hand draw these things onto a picture of like a wood floor background. But I don't know, I feel like that kind of takes away from it. I like the idea of a sheet material. I think it makes it more unique. Makes the space its home. So, new section here. Suddenly, a triangle. Actually, you know what? These are characters. I'm not used to that. Triangle, which means we need all caps there. A triangle moves into frame. The circle slowly approaches it. The two meet in the middle of the space. Actually, hold on. The music stops. We sit on the two next to each other. Oh, next to each other for and beat, not for a beat. All right. Okay. Yeah, we may not even make it off page 1, actually. All right. Let's make sure we're covering our beats. Whoops. Seems like we are. We've essentially just finished beat 2. So let's do another space. The triangle quickly moves back and starts to spin. Dramatic music starts and the triangle stops spinning and it stops spinning with its point with good lord, excuse me, with one of, oh my god, of its points facing, that's not right. Yeah, man, for a writer, I'm kind of dumb. Facing the circle. The triangle thrusts towards the circle. The circle moves away, and the triangle slams into, I didn't specify, you know what, let's backtrack. There are, let's say, 2 couches, a table, and 2 chairs. Okay. So let's 2 couches, comma, a table, and 2 chairs. Let's put it here. Plant, and then a table and 2 chairs. Cool. All right, so then slams into a couch, shoving it back. There's no E. Whoop, whoop. Okay. So we've started our fight, which means, I think that means, yeah, we're done with beat 3 because we've started the fight. The fight ends in beat 4. So, alright, back to our script. Shoving it back. I need to decide if I'm going to add in my yellow pillowcase idea. The problem with that, I don't think a yellow pillowcase would be enough. I feel like you'd have to be like yellow, orange, and red. So it would be probably yellow pillowcase, orange pillowcase, red pillowcase, and then you would layer them on top of each other, and that would create an explosion. You know what? Hold on. Give me a second. If we Google, I just want to show what I'm talking about. Cartoon explosion. Yeah, this will do. This works. All right, so I'm gonna cover my face for a second, possibly. Oh no, I'm not. If we use, that's kind of backwards, and I was thinking. That's okay though. If we say, for example, this is our, I guess, like background point, not background point, our like slam point, like when things hit each other, this is our impact point. I think it creates more drama, which is what we want out of this. So you know what, I am going to do that. Slams into a couch, shoving it back. Each impact creates a I'm gonna say just cartoon explosion, just so I have my vision kind of imprinted into the script here. Creates a cartoon good God, explosion. There's an X in there. It's a cartoon explosion at the impact point. The impact points are also a sheet-like material. Okay. we've started the fight. Let's do another space here. Alright, so this first impact slightly rounds out the point on the point used by the triangle. I didn't put an L in there. Oh my lord. Okay. Okay. Used by the triangle. The circle slams into a okay, so it could be interesting, and I'm thinking about Shel Silverstein a little bit, which for those of you that don't know is a wonderful poet. So he wrote a book called The Missing Piece. So part of me is now wondering if the triangle uses a point to slam into the circle and create, I guess, kind of like a Pac-Man character. Then we could have part of the triangle break off into the circle and then have the triangle slowly become a circle further. But I think before we do that, we need to have the triangle have two rounded out points, so that once that third point breaks off, they just keep slamming into each other until it's a circle. And that would be a fun reference, because I grew up on Shel Silverstein. My parents read those books to me, and then when I learned to read, I read them a lot too. Back in the day when I was beardless and well, I'm still immature. It's about to be like, when I wasn't mature, I was like, nah, I'm still immature. What am I talking about? The circle slams into a, I think I am going to do that, into a flat side of the triangle. Oh no, I'm not capitalizing circle. Oh no. Actually, this move, let's see, wait, hold on. Where else have I screwed up? Circle, circle, circle. Okay. I'm not used to having these be like proper nouns. Okay. So into the triangle. The triangle flies across the room, and another point what furniture? The table. Let's do the table. Slams into the table. How would I film that though if I'm gonna break part of the triangle off into... I know how. it'd be a white pillowcase. If we're doing white shapes, it would be like I don't know, something. It would be smaller than like, because I imagine this would be just like a normal like bed sheet, and then you would create, the triangle slams in, you create the divot, and then because it's pictures, you leave that there. You take the point away from the triangle and you just cut into, now there's a smaller material filling in the space. And then maybe over the course of the rest of it, it can kind of solidify itself. This rounds out another point on the triangle slightly. The triangle turns its last point onto the circle and thrusts again. Alright. The triangle impales the circle. Impales the circle. Sad music starts. I wonder if we could have tears from the circle. That might make something, that might be interesting, I don't know. How are we, let's see, we're a little over half a page here. I don't think this is a minute long though. It's only on this first page because it's all action and it's all bunched together because that's how action lines are. Sad music starts. Yeah, I think I am. The circle sheds tears. A faint laugh, faint bit of laughter can be heard with the soundtrack. Then the tears stop, and so does the music. And actually, I need to change something. Sad. Take that away. Take that away. Change to sad music. Okay. And so does the music. The circle spins and breaks off the triangle's last point. Change back to dramatic music. Music's gonna be huge. Sound is gonna be huge in this. The circle spins and breaks off the triangle's last point. That's an apostrophe, essentially. I'm terrible with grammar. Last point. The two shapes start slamming into each other again and again. Triangle's last point. This fills the gap created by the triangle trying the circle slowly becomes more solid again as the story continues. Again and again. Actually, make this a new space because this is that paragraph's getting long. And again, furniture is moved as the shapes bump into them after each impact. The triangle is slowly becoming a circle. Yeah, see, now I'm not talking about the character, I'm just talking about the object now. Oh my gosh, dude, just save. I know I can check that box, but I like to be able to tell it whether or not, let's see, it's slowly becoming a circle with each impact. With each impact. Okay, so we're towards the end here. So let's double check our beat sheet. Let's make sure we're still on the right track. Okay. We are at the end of beat 4 now, which will then move us into beat 5. Let's see. So we're going to circle with each impact. Once after a few beats of this, there are now 2 circles. Okay, create another. All right, we are gonna make it to page 2. It looks like I only have about an eighth left. There are now 2 circles. The circle that was a triangle. I actually just call it the triangle despite it being a circle now. The triangle begins to shed tears as it has lost its shape. The circle watches for a beat before moving closer. Music stops. Okay, for the listeners, I had to go back up and add music stops after the triangle became a circle, because we don't want dramatic music playing right here. Watches for a beat before moving closer. Actually, after the triangle begins to shed tears, sad music plays again. The 2 shapes sit together until a new red sheet emerges above them and transforms into a heart. Change to hopeful music. The heart flutters away. Let's see. So the heart flutters away, and this is the end of the story according to our beat sheet. So now I'm kind of like, is this how we want it to end, or do we... I know what to do. Flutters away. The shapes then work together to fix the room, because the furniture's been moved around. To fix the room. We fade, or no. The two then sit in the center, enjoying their new home in harmony. Well, I wanted to do fade out and have it be done on page 1, but that's okay. Transition. Fade out. And that's our story. It's very different than what's usually written on this show, but, you know, I like to do different. I want to challenge myself. I've never written in a genre like this. Even though I guess genre is still kind of just drama, but experimental is also its own thing. So, I hope y'all enjoyed this. Let me know if you want more of this. And let me know how I did, for those of you that know about experimental filmmaking. This may not even be in the realm that I think it is. This might be just a different thing entirely, but based on the little knowledge I have on experimental film, I think this qualifies. So anybody that has feedback, I'm willing to listen. If I'm completely wrong in most of this, then let me know. I love feedback. So if you like this video, leave a like, or if you leave a dislike, put in the comments some feedback. What can we do better to make this show more fun, more entertaining? I know there weren't a lot of jokes this episode. I was focused and into the writing this time around. But hopefully everybody kind of either learned something or enjoyed kind of the writing. If you have feedback on the script and or changes that I could make, I'm willing to listen to that too. We're on all the social medias, Instagram and whatnot, so feel free to give those a look. And then if you find yourself searching up Writer's Room to check out a new video or whatever, go ahead and subscribe. It'll put us on your homepage. You'll get notified when we upload if you have that enabled. Just make your life a little bit easier. So, I think... and then if you prefer to listen, we're on Spotify, Amazon, and Apple Music. Amazon Music and Apple Music. Thank y'all so much for going on this experimental journey, and I will see y'all in the next one. Goodbye!